How to become a philosopher. The term philosophy refers to a desire for knowledge. A philosopher, on the other hand, is more than just someone who knows a lot or enjoys learning, a pan-academic. Rather, a philosopher is someone who actively participates in critical thought about huge topics with no easy answers. The life of a philosopher is not easy, but if you enjoy studying complicated links and thinking extensively about important, but often perplexing, themes, the study of philosophy may be your destiny, if such a thing exists. Preparing your mind. 1. Everything should be questioned. Philosophy necessitates a thorough and critical examination of life and the world as a whole. This requires a lack of bias, ignorance, and dogma. The philosopher dwells in reflection and observation. They attempt to understand every experience, even if doing so necessitates brutal honesty. This necessitates discarding any preconceived assumptions that one may have held in the past and subjecting all of one's views to critical evaluation. No belief or source of ideas, regardless of its origin, authority, or emotional power, is immune. Philosophical thinking requires thinking for oneself. Philosophers do not just form opinions and converse incessantly. Instead, philosophers construct arguments based on premises that may and will be contested by other philosophers. The purpose of philosophical thinking is to ask meaningful questions and seek knowledge, not to be correct. 2. Philosophy should be read. Hundreds of years of philosophical thought preceded your own analyses of the world, and learning about the thoughts of past philosophers will prompt you to consider new ideas, questions, and issues. The more philosophy you read, the better you will become as a philosopher. Reading is one of the most crucial activities for a philosopher. Reading, according to philosophy professor Anthony Grayling, is a task of great intellectual importance, and he recommends reading literary works in the morning and philosophical works later in the day. Read some of the classics. Some of the most enduring and powerful philosophical ideas in Western philosophy can be found in the works of long philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, Duns Scotus, Hume, Descartes, and Kant, and modern philosophers recommend familiarizing yourself with their important works. In Eastern philosophy, the ideas of Lao Tse, Confucius, and Buddha have been similarly lasting, and any aspiring philosopher should pay attention to them. At the same time, if you start reading something by one of these thinkers and it doesn't appeal to you, don't be afraid to put it down and pick up something else that does. You can always return to it later. A bachelor's degree in philosophy is a useful approach to organize these studies, but many great philosophers were self-taught as well. Balance your extensive reading with in-depth writing. Where reading broadens your perspective of the world, writing provides depth of understanding. Begin immediately by putting down your thoughts on the philosophical literature you are reading. 3. Consider the big picture. Spend time contemplating the world, what it means to live, die, and exist, and what the goal of it all is. These themes raise large, unsolved, and frequently unanswerable questions, which only philosophers, young children, and other extremely curious persons have the imagination and bravery to pose. More practical issues, such as those derived from the social sciences, for example, political science or sociology, the arts, and even the physical sciences, for example, biology and physics, can also supply feed for philosophical thought. 4. Participate in a debate. You should participate in whatever argument you can while honing your critical thinking skills. This will improve your ability to think critically and freely. Indeed, many philosophers regard lively intellectual interaction as a vital step toward truth. The purpose here is to study and strengthen your thinking skills, not to win a contest. There will always be someone who knows more than you, and hubris will prevent you from learning from them. Maintain an open mind. Maintain the strength and logic of your arguments. The premises should lead to the conclusions, and the premises should be supported by evidence. Weigh the facts and avoid being misled only by repetition or ignorance. It is critical for every developing philosopher to practice the development and criticism of arguments. Practicing philosophy. 1. Create and practice an inquiry strategy. The exploration and analysis of the world is an important component of philosophy. To put it another way, one of the key tasks of philosophy is to define and characterize the fundamental structures and patterns of existence, frequently by breaking them down into smaller components. Because there is no single, superior method of study, you must devise one that is both academically rigorous and engaging to you. In this stage, you'll be deciding what kinds of questions to ask and what kinds of relationships to pursue. Are you fascinated by the human condition? What are the political arrangements? Conceptual relationships, or word-to-concept relationships? Different areas of interest may need you to take different techniques to asking questions and developing hypotheses. Reading other philosophical books will assist you in making these decisions by exposing you to how others have addressed philosophy in the past. Some philosophers, for example, exclusively trust their thoughts and logic and not their senses, which might fool us at times. Descartes, one of history's most eminent philosophers, was among those who followed this approach. Others, on the other hand, base their inquiries into the nature of consciousness on their own first-person observations of the world around them. These are two very different but equally valid philosophizing techniques. It's fantastic if you can be the source of your own investigation. Because you're always available to yourself, each line of inquiry concerning yourself, and there can be many, allows you to make some progress. Consider the foundation behind your beliefs. Why do you believe the things you do? Begin from the beginning and question your rationale. Try to be systematic in your ideas wherever you chose to focus your investigation. Be consistent and logical. Engage in comparison and contrast. Mentally disassemble things to try to understand how they work. Speculate on what would happen if two things were joined, synthesis, or if something was eliminated from a process or relationship, deletion. Continue to pose these questions in various contexts. Convergent awareness, all current understandings, your investigations will begin here. Critical thinking, logic and deduction, creative thinking, induction and extrapolation, and divergent thinking are the four domains that will help you think, free association and brainstorming. By expanding the cognitive window, these tactics proceed from what is known to what you seek to learn, and as such, they are very strong reflecting tools. 2. Begin by jotting down your ideas. Write down your thoughts on the topics of your investigation, including things you believe you should not write down, possibly because you think others may think they are stupid. While you may not come to any surprising findings, you will expose your own assumptions to yourself. You'll probably be surprised at how ridiculous some of your assumptions might be, and you'll grow as a result. If you don't know where to start, consider topics that other philosophers have addressed before, such as how to treat the existence of God or whether humans have free will or are ruled by fate. The essential strength of philosophy is found in the consistency of thinking that you will preserve in your work. A single entry may do little on its own while you explore an issue, but when you return to that concern throughout the days, the diverse conditions you face will allow you to bring fresh insights to your study. It is the accumulated strength of your thoughts that will lead you to those eureka moments. 3. Create a life philosophy. As you write, you should start to form your own philosophical viewpoint, arriving at rational and well-considered beliefs about life and the world. It is normal for philosophers to develop a point of view over time, particularly on a particular problem. These are frameworks, or mental patterns. Many of philosophy's finest thinkers have created such frameworks. At the same time, keep in mind to study each subject critically. The central job that underpins the philosopher's effort is model development. Whether we realize it or not, we all have an abductive model of reality that is continuously being updated to meet our observations. To develop this model of successive approximations, we can use both deductive reasoning, e.g., given the existence of gravity, the stone is surely going to fall when I let it go, and inductive reasoning, e.g., I've seen that weather pattern many times. I'll wager it'll rain again. Making these models explicit and evaluating them is the process of building a philosophical theory. 4. Rewrite and solicit feedback. You should structure your ideas more formally throughout numerous revisions and allow others to read your work. You can either ask friends, relatives, teachers, or classmates for feedback on your work, or you can put your writings online, through a website, a blog, or a message board, and wait for comments. Be open to criticism and use it to better your own ideas. Always remember to study the data offered in order to gain insight, and to let other people's viewpoints and critiques help you broaden your own thinking. Be skeptical of criticisms that show little or no evidence of substantial discussion, e.g., that your premise was understood, or even read. Such critics have believed they are thinkers without truly accepting the philosophical discipline offered here, yet they believe they are nonetheless entitled to philosophical study. Such debates will continue indefinitely. Rewrite after receiving feedback from your readers, integrating any useful feedback. Becoming a professional. 1. Get a higher education. To study philosophy as a vocation, you must first obtain a PhD or, at the very least, a master's degree. To make a living from philosophy, you must use your knowledge and, ideally, insight to create original works of philosophical thinking and, in most cases, to teach others about the subject. In other words, today's professional philosopher is often an academic, which necessitates a graduate degree. Moreover, the rigors of graduate education will help you advance your philosophical thinking. You'll need to learn how to write in the very regimented style required by academic journals, in particular. Spend some time researching the philosophy programs provided by various colleges. Choose the ones that appeal to you the most and begin applying for programs. Graduate school applications are extremely competitive, so don't expect to be accepted into the first program to which you apply. Applying to numerous colleges, ideally 10 to 12, is a good idea. 2. Publish your concepts. Even before you finish your graduate studies, you should start working on publishing your philosophical thoughts. There are numerous academic journals devoted to philosophy. Publishing in these publications will help you establish yourself as a philosophical thinker and increase your chances of being employed as a philosophy professor. It's also a good idea to give your work a presentation at academic conferences. Participating in these events allows you to acquire more input from other professional thinkers while also improving your career possibilities. 3. Learn how to teach. Many of history's greatest philosophers were educators. Aside from that, any university that would recruit you to study philosophy professionally will also want you to teach other aspiring philosophers. Most likely, your graduate school will provide you with opportunities to teach undergraduate students and hone your pedagogical skills. 4. Take a job. Start looking for a job as a philosophy professor after you've finished your PhD studies. This process is arguably more difficult than applying to graduate institutions. Be prepared to face a slew of rejections before you ultimately succeed. Many philosophy graduates struggle to get employment in academia. Nonetheless, the skills you'll get in your graduate studies will be useful in a variety of disciplines, and you can always work on philosophy in your spare time. Remember that many of history's greatest philosophers' publications were never acknowledged as significant during their lives. Even if one does not serve as a profession, the benefits of disciplined thought cannot be overstated. In today's world, with easy access to vast volumes of information, some of it erroneous or, worse, purposely harming a person's mental health, It is the investigative mind of the philosopher that holds the tools to discern half-truths or total falsehoods. Thanks for watching. Now you know how to become a philosopher.